Alright, here we go. Hello. Today, we're going to talk about trailers. This is my most recent trailer that I made, and it looks like this. It bugs me no end that I can't use RGB color space in my trailers, because like, that's sort of what my games are rendering at. I would really like my trailers to look like my games. The colors are I don't know, they don't look right. And green in particular is a little bit too bright, too saturated. But yeah, so this is a trailer I made most recently. I've had a couple of people ask about how I made it, and I thought I would. I'm taking a day off, so I've got a spare bit of time, and I'm happy to give an overview of how all this stuff works, like what goes on behind the scenes. So, yeah, let me know if the screen's flickering. I'm pretty sure I've sorted that out, but we'll get there. Where to start? I think what I would like to do is focus on like looking at. I think we'll look at the finished thing in Blender, and then we'll jump back and we'll look at like conceptualization and moving forward and how to bring that into a reality. So here we go. Here's my my thing. It's gonna take a little bit to load because it's kind of complex. This is probably the biggest, the busiest that any of Hive Time's trailers get. We have this non-linear video editor here in Blender, which you can see here. Actually, I don't want that to be quite so big. It's fine. So if we jump back to the beginning, we'll see at the beginning this B here is just that B. If I move it around, we'll be able to see it do its thing. And then we'll have a scene here, which if I zoom in on that, we can see its name. I think this is called Hex Wipe. Should be called Hex Wipe. Okay. Yeah, there it is, Hex Wipe, yeah. And so this, if I, well, again, we're looking at the finished thing and then we're working backwards. How's it going, System Chalk? So the Hex Wipe ends up being a mask that goes onto the actual gameplay video here. So it's just a mask modifier. Hang on, let me double check whether that's not visible. Let me shrink this in. Shoop. Okay, there we go. So yeah, I've got a mask modifier here that means that this scene, which just looks like this, ends up becoming a mask for our what am I saying? Becomes a mask for our video so that we can have the cool hexagon wipe. The video, I recorded all of that in OBS. Depending upon what I need to record, like OBS is generally good enough. I sometimes use Simple Screen Recorder, which can do like a direct OpenGL capture. And that's useful sometimes, but yeah. And then each of the quotes is its own strip here, doing a thing. It has an animation that does it in, and then I also, if we go over here, we'll see that the opacity has a keyframe here and another keyframe here. It just goes back to 0. If I have that selected, we can see that that's the opacity of the thing fading out. So rather than using an effect strip to handle the fade out, so that the text there, I just have the opacity keyframes on the just on the strip itself. For crossfading between the different video streams, I do use an effect strip. So you just select your two things, go add effect strip cross, and it'll do a crossfade. There's a couple different modes, a couple different ways that the crossfades work. So if you have them overlapping like this, then it will crossfade in the way that we see here. If they're not overlapping, I didn't know this until recently. This is news to me. I saw my dad doing it. I'd always assume because like when we're working in 3D stuff, like usually we use this particular color, this purple represents like a bad thing, like a missing texture or a missing shader or something. Like usually it's a very common way of representing missing data. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, it's bad. It's bad because they're not overlapping. But it turns out that it will fade to like a static version of that, and then continue after the fade. It's really interesting, but not useful for this. Is it going to undo it? Oh yeah, moving the playhead around adds onto the undo stack, which is incredibly frustrating for me. So yeah, each of the videos has like audio behind it, and I could have like allowed the audio to overlap, but I didn't even think about doing that, and since nobody seems to have cared, I don't care. The music track I chopped up into a bunch of pieces because like the actual original track is much longer. And like it goes from this this like just xylophone. Is it a xylophone? I think it's a xylophone. Okay, well yeah, it's jumping around a little bit because my computer's busy doing stuff, and this is a complex thing, and it's like the limits of what my computer can do. But this transition usually happens later in the piece, so we have like a few more instruments come in first before we get like the full arrangement, and I felt like I wanted to accelerate that in. And then we skip to like the bridge quite quickly as well. I don't know if it's a bridge. I'm calling it a bridge. And then the bridgey bit usually goes back to this like normal arrangement for a bit, but instead, well, actually no, maybe it does a bridgey bit for a bit longer. I can't remember. But I wanted to like bring in this sort of semi-finale bit where it brings in some drums, and then go back to like the main part of the music for the end screen. And usually that's what I'll do in most of the trailers is I'll chop up the music and try and rearrange it and recompose it. And almost every time I'm thinking, oh, I've done a really terrible hack job, and I'll ask Peter if he's comfortable and make sure that I pay him to like recut it if I've massacred his work. And every time he's like, no, it's great, man, you've done good work. Yeah, so again, same kind of thing with the quotes here, same kind of thing with the crossfades. I have hiding under here. Yoink. Oh, where is it? Did I just delete it? I deleted it. Okay. Well, I did have a video that was just bees flying back and forth across some cells, and I ended up keeping the audio from that across the quotes, getting quieter as we zoom out. So yeah, we had this kind of like bees.mp4 audio happening underneath all this, which I think gives it like some extra depth. Drums. Let's have a look. What drums are we talking about here? Oh, neat. Those are neat drums. I'm not sure what they are. Peter is definitely the person to ask. I don't think he's online, but I figure if we're talking about, yeah, it says he's away. I was gonna say if he was online, I would totally invite him to come and discuss. Yeah. So again, we've got two scenes here. The background with the hexagons is separate from the text. The final boss drums, yeah, they're like you've got taiko drums or your mini boss drums, and then you get the final boss drums. I pushed the background into a different layer so that I could do a crossfade just to the background, and then independently use opacity keyframes to fade in the text, because it looks kind of janky when it just pops out of nowhere. And I wanted that to happen with a different timing from the background fading in. The text itself is 3 layers and uses 3 materials, and so animating the opacity of those materials without having like the different layers visible through each other it's fiddly, and it made more sense to just duplicate the entire thing, pull the background out as a separate thing that uses the same camera movement, and then do that instead. And then yeah, same kind of end wipe mask thing going on here to get that wipe happening. The the different platforms come in at different points in the music, so we'll see that like macOS starts to be in time with this piece of music, and Linux starts in time with this piece, and then Windows is here, and they're like in time with the notes in different parts of the music, and same with the platforms here. You can see that each comes in at this bit, and the happy birthday stuff is like it's hiding in there. Yeah, so I think what most people who've asked me about how I did this are most interested in the text stuff. So what we'll do is we'll just pick one of these banner quotes to start with, and we'll take a look at them. So in Blender, you can use any scene as a strip in the video editor, which means you've got access to everything that you can do in Blender immediately in the thing. And I've just had someone ask me for the URL for the stream, so I will share that. Yeah, so yeah, what these are just normal regular 3D scenes, and we wanted which one were we looking at? Gentle. Yeah, okay, sweet. This has a lot of scenes. We're gonna get to this in a minute. But we'll start here with this. Okay, so if we jump into like camera view, which is number pad 0, we don't need this up here right now. We can see here that it's got an orthographic camera, and here's the thing going on here. We've got a couple of bones at work here. We've got this bone here for the beat, and attached to that is the B and the front of the sort of banner here. The back vertices aren't actually weighted to anything, so they just sit static while the B here moves around. So yeah, that's its own thing. If we jump in here, we can see it's just like a straight movement that it makes. It does sort of slow down a little bit at the end, but you don't really notice it. I probably should have made it linear, but I don't care. And then I've got these are bones as well on the text. If I change the rendering type to look somewhere here is a button. I thought it was here. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So we just like make it look like a normal bone. And why is that not? Oh, I see. I have to go into pose mode. Okay, pose mode. There we go. Yeah, sweet. So yeah, that's just a we just do just a straight horizontal scale on it to make it look and feel nice. And I'm using the back interpolation here to make it go a little bit beyond where it needs to go. I don't know if you can, it's kind of subtle, but it gets big there and then comes back down to small. And if we grab the other bone, doink, we'll see that it kind of does the same thing for size, but it also like moves in from the left, which just gives it like a slightly different feel, right? It makes it settle in a different way. and I find that that it just like gives it some more you know just distinct energy, I guess. It makes things feel less samey. What am I doing? Let me grab that and turn that back to wire so that it's easier to see. Yeah, so if we, it kind of, it's not, but it almost gives the sense of like the letters being typed out because it starts from the beginning and then gets longer. It all happens so fast that you don't have time to think about it, but it does give like just a small thought. So there's a couple of other things going on here that I want to draw attention to. Let's jump in here and just have a quick look at the text. We can see here that it's a mesh, and it's a mesh that has been converted from like a normal font thing. You cannot animate fonts. Or you can't, yeah, fonts don't know or care about armatures, which sort of sucks because I was like, alright, well, if I just use the font class or the font object, then that's less fiddling for me. The fact that I have to convert them to a mesh is frustrating because that's not a non-destructive action. That actually like does stuff and isn't undoable. So if I want to go and change any of this text now, I would either have to like manipulate the mesh, or I would have to bring back my bring back my text here and type some different stuff in. And so because I knew that this trailer was going to be text heavy, I took the time to sit down and write some scripts because I'm not doing that a million times. I have this script here. Let's make this big so that we can see what's going on. And what this does is it checks to see if there's already so what it's going to do is it's going to make automatically the mesh version of that text, and it's going to give it a different name, and we're going to keep the original like actual font version. You can see here that we've got quote text.007 is this one, and then quote text.007 underscore proxy is the mesh that looks the way it's meant to. So if I turn that one off, yeah. And so what this does is it says if the proxy already exists, just get rid of the proxy because like we treat the mesh as disposable. And then we define steps as 3 because this has 3 steps here. Let me turn that one off so we don't see the garbage anymore. Yeah, so it's 3 layers and they're like separated vertically so that they don't Z fight. But yeah, that's what the 3 steps does. If I did 4, it would continue onward. So yeah, for every step that it has, it makes a new copy of the mesh using the toMesh function. This is like a function that we call and we pass in the text thing that we're going to do. So it does toMesh, and it will convert it to a mesh for us. It will copy the scale from the original object, because if the object has scale and then you convert it to a mesh, you end up with a full-size copy of the mesh because we're creating a new object. It doesn't have any of the actual data that's attached to the original font thing. We link it to the scene that we were already in, and then if it's an odd number, we give it one material. If it's an even number, we give it a different material. That's how we get the alternating light and dark stuff there. We then select it, and we make it the active thing. Oh, I probably don't even need this anymore because I'm doing the toMesh here, but this is how I was previously converting it to a mesh. And then I add them to an array so that I'm keeping references to all of them, because the way that Blender works as far as its Python API goes is you can access the selected object. That's pretty much it. You can access like the collection of all objects everywhere, but anytime you call BPY ops, that will act on whatever is selected or whatever is the active object or whatever else. So keeping references to things can be handy, and you can see here that once we've made all of these meshes, we then loop through them all and make them selected. um, so that we can then use the join operation on it. And then once it's joined, then we give it the name proxy. So that means that, instead of being 3 separate objects, this becomes one object, which makes it a little bit easier for me to, if I want to move it around or I want to make any changes, it's nicer to have it as one thing rather than have 3 things per piece of text in the outliner here, which, as we'll get to, would be very, very, very cumbersome. And so we also want to make sure that we copy across any of the modifiers. And this is oh yeah. That's right. I know Text Wrangler. I don't use it, but I know of it. Yeah, so one thing I do to speed stuff up is I have, even though it does nothing, the armature modifier for the for attaching this text to the bone, that modifier is already applied, or not already applied. It exists for the font, even though it does nothing, which means that when we generate our mesh, we can just automatically bring that across. Oh no, this is Python. This isn't Godot. This is Blender. Blender uses straight Python. So yeah, we copy across all the modifiers, which allows us to automatically use the correct armature, because we might be in a scene that has an arbitrary number of pieces of text. I want them all to have whatever. I just want it to be flexible, right? So being able to set this stuff up in Blender and then press a button, have all the things work, is nice. I didn't want to hard code in the script checking for a specific bone's existence or whatever. So in addition to copying the modifiers, we do we have to set all the properties for the modifier as well, because you can't just copy a modifier. You have to create a new modifier based on the existing modifier's type and name and properties. Yeah, Blender doesn't really know anything about copying stuff. All it knows about is making new things. And sometimes, like in the case of the new object here, we can use an existing object as a template, but other times you have to create new instances, so, interrogate the existing things to find out what their names and stuff are, and then recreate them with the same stuff. But yeah, anyway, so once we've done that, we add that stuff into a group called text, which means that if I go groups, oh no, we can't view that here. I used that elsewhere, and it was useful where I used it, and it's kind of craft now, I guess. So ignore the group stuff. Oh wait, no, sorry. This is vertex groups, not object groups. So yeah, we do actually make a new vertex group. And contrary to what I was saying before about the modifiers, I actually do end up making some assumptions. I make the assumption that there is a bone called text somewhere, or I add everything to a vertex group with the assumption that that will be relevant for later. So this armature has a bone called text, and the way that Godot works is that when that bone does stuff, if there's a vertex group called text, then it will use that. So we go through and we just add everything in the mesh to that vertex group, so that the animation automatically is automatically applied for us, which is nice. I call decimate because so this one was not decimated, right? And we can see that the mesh is fairly dense. And in the case where we have a lot of case where we have a lot of text, we will see that actually maybe that is decimated. Yeah, these are decimated, so we can see that these are sorry, these let me, I can't select them because I set them to not be selectable. Come on, where are we? Here, yes. Let me make that selectable. Okay, sweet. Alright, if we zoom in now, we should see, yeah, these are nowhere near as dense meshes. There's so much stuff here that it was very slow before I did the decimate, so decimate made sense to to do. It's an argument that gets passed into the function, so it's not something that's guaranteed to happen, but I think I'm doing it everywhere now. And then once we've done the decimation, then we deselect stuff and we hide the text. So the original font version is hidden and not visible, and also set to not show up in render, which is like a separate visibility thing. Oh yeah, I saw you mention something about OpenCL. My literacy for OpenCL stuff is very small. I know nothing about it. Yeah. Alright, so we were looking at this one. We looked at how the animation works. We talked about how the text is generated. Yeah, I guess the next step is to talk about the other sort of script that I wrote. So, excuse me. If we think about this, we come back to here, and we go, okay, well, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 of these banner quotes that zip across the screen, and that's on the cusp of being like reasonably doable. It's not that hard to type, these small sentences out and do the other things, but the more instances of that kind of task you have, the higher the chances are that one of them is going to have a typo in it, or that one of them is going to need updating, or some other thing is going to need changing. So what I did was write a what am I saying? Write another script here, which loops through a JSON file that I wrote that has the quote and the author and the source as separate things, because I wasn't sure if I was going to have the authors in there as well as the publications that they were from, and also a Python friendly name, so that I could make things easier to find later on if needed. So this loads in the JSON file. Let's oh, okay. Gedit is funny when it comes to resizing text. Yeah, I haven't quoted these. These are all like very sloppy and very not great. But yeah, so we just read in the JSON, get it into an array, or whatever format it's going to be in. Do author was the variable that I was using to control whether or not the authors go in there. But basically we check and see if there's already a scene. Like I wanted to create, this is wrong, whatever. I wanted to create a separate, let's go back to default here. I want to create a separate scene for each one, right? So you can see here that this one's again, this exactly the same thing, but we want it to have different text. So I made a template scene here, right? Which just has, the font thing and the bones already set up for the animation and all that stuff. So the only thing that the script needs to do is replace the text in here, generate the mesh from the text, and that's it. And yeah, give it its own name. So if it already exists, we will update the existing one. If it doesn't exist, then we make a full copy of the template and work on that instead. And then we make sure that nothing is selected and nothing is active, and then we loop through all of the objects in the scene, and if there are any of those yeah, we'll end up deleting the proxy later, but we just don't want to use the proxy, so we skip that. We see if it starts with quote text or starts with sort text. We don't know what it's going to end up looking like, because if we jump into a real one, we'll see here that it's like quote text 38. They all kind of get numeric names on them. I didn't want to go through the process of trying to provide them with unique names manually, so I was just like, let's just check for a prefix. So quote text and sort text are the source text are the two different text objects in there that we can update. And then if do author is true and if the JSON actually has, because like a couple of these were uncredited. So yeah, if it has an author, then we'll stick the author in with a hyphen. Otherwise, we just oh sorry, with a comma. Otherwise, we just stick the publication name, and then we call that wrangle text function for each of those to make the thing happen. And then after that's done, we switch over to the video editor, and if that newly created scene isn't already in here, it sticks it in here. And so what I was able to do was, this previously had like maybe 2-3 times as many quotes in it, and they all got added in here, and then I was able to like pick them out and put them and place them around and rearrange them and stuff. So having a script that would do that, and then if I want to change any of the text, if I need to fix anything, I just go in here, go in here, press the button, go in text, run script, and it would re-import them, re-update them, do everything it needed to do, and that would automatically apply to the strips here in the video editor. So automating that made a lot of sense and made everything heaps easier. It was also a way for me to procrastinate, or maybe not procrastinate, but have something to do in the foreground while I had people's streams and stuff on in the background. I watched many hours of people's Hive Time streams looking for things that I could pull out as pull quotes. It turns out that in the past, the only thing that I really clipped from streams and stuff was people talking about the music, so that I could share that with Peter. Because I want to make sure that the people I work with get the recognition and receive the positivity coming off the work that they do. So yeah, that's just like very oh no, you know what? I went live and then I like totally forgot to share that I was streaming. Let me just fix that, because there were a couple of people who I think were hanging out to catch this stream. Sorry. Yes, I did not. That is bizarre to me. I was in my mind. I'd done it. I had written it out, and then I guess just not posted it, and whatever tab that was in, it's not immediately visible. Alright, well, apologies to anyone who missed the beginning, but yeah. Anyway, so we've just gone over how I went about, automating, creating these banner things. So if we go cute and compelling, head back to default, and I'm looking for cute and compelling, this one, yep. So the only thing that I did here was just like rotate it, snap cursor to center, and then rotate around cursor. Yeah, it's just the same thing, but rotated. Obviously, I didn't rotate the didn't rotate the text. I moved the text up manually. But yeah, so just rotating that allowed me to get the other direction going on. And I feel like that gives some valuable variation, like right at the beginning. If they all came across the bottom, it's less interesting. And then here, where I wanted to like start to give the sense of there's a lot more, like, I guess the thing that I was trying to convey here is people have said a lot of things. So I'm intentionally giving you possibly a little bit more than you can comfortably read in one sitting. I have kind of like, these ones do last longer than the first ones. But I did want it to feel like you're kind of getting the impression of, so here it's like, oh, some people said some nice things, and you're like, oh wow, there's more things than I realized that people have said. And then we come over here and we get like, the really big collection that that kind of pushes that even further. So I wanted that kind of three-step, those three beats for the structure of the trailer. But yeah, that brings us to the the thanks one, which is this one here. And so I have another script. This is Quote Wrangler 2 because I'm like completely not interested in naming things when I'm writing these scripts. But yeah, I wrote all these scripts and stuff while I had Hive Time streams going on in the background, and that was my way of multitasking. But it also meant that because automating it meant that I could update my list of quotes at any point in time, and that made me feel a little bit more comfortable experimenting and doing work that I knew I would have to redo if it wasn't going to be a whole lot of work to set everything up again. Because yeah, unfortunately, the way that all these things work, there's no way to... This was really frustrating. So the other ones were all just a couple of objects in one scene, and that's fairly easy to navigate and work through. In this case, I've got a whole ton of objects in one scene, and my thought was, okay, well, I'll do the same thing again, right? I'll have this here, and I'll have an empty as the parent, which means I can just select the empty and move it around and scale it. And hang on, I'm gonna come back to medium point and scale it. And if I wanted to rotate it, do whatever. But the idea of having this one anchor point that I can select to move stuff around feels important, feels valuable. After creating that template, the template hierarchy looks something like this. Not like that, like this. Me undo. Gonna undo. Gonna put that back where it goes. There we go. Okay. Come back. Thanks. Yeah, selecting stuff also goes on the undo stack. So yeah, here's one that we've got here. We've got the empty, which is this cross thing. It's something that doesn't render. It's just it's the equivalent to the spatial node in Godot, where it's a thing that has a 3D position and it has a rotation and has a transformation, but doesn't have any geometry assigned to it or anything else. It's just got this visual representation never gets rendered. It's just in the editor. And so as a child of that, I have the armature, the text that's hidden, the text mesh that's there. We only have one bone this time because there's so much going on that I don't think that there's a lot of value in separating it out and having a separate bone for the the quote source, the way that I did in the banner quotes. It's a case of I don't really want to unnecessarily complicate things, and B, I want to have a higher performance thing with fewer moving parts. And C, it's when you're making something like this, it makes sense to think about what balance fidelity and detail. So if you have high detail, you probably don't need high fidelity. If you have something that's complex and has a lot of things going on, that's a lot for a viewer's brain to track at once. You don't need to have as high a fidelity of whether it's animation or other bits of detail. Just thinking about detail density and how that relates to fidelity can save you a lot of work with these kinds of things, I think. But yeah, so after I'd set up this template, I then discovered, guess what? You can't copy an object and its children in Blender. When we do the Shift D here, we don't even duplicate the children. We only duplicate the selection, and that's intensely frustrating. If we select all these bits and pieces and then no, what's going on here? Hang on, let me make them selectable. If you select all the bits and pieces and then duplicate them. It will maintain the hierarchy in the duplicate, which is nice and handy. But realistically, that's not practical. And it's from a scripting perspective, it is yeah, just a case of like you've got to create new instances of everything manually, and that's very frustrating. So what I ended up doing was template. We have template misc quote. Wherever that is. Hello? Hello? What have I done? Oh, I've done 3D view full. Come back here. This is what I want. Yes. Okay. I guess that other thing was like set to be rendered or something. So yeah, I've got a whole scene which has this stuff in here, and you can copy whole scenes, and then you can iterate through the objects in the scene and move them to a different scene. And that's basically how I do it. And it's frustrating and annoying to have to do that. But yeah, we can see that I check to see if that empty doesn't already exist, then we're going to make a copy of the quote and work on it. Otherwise, we're going to work on and that scene again. It turns out that those things get removed from the scene when you link them to another scene. It can only be in one scene at a time, which is slightly frustrating. I tried to use groups, so we talked about groups earlier, and it turns out that groups kind of act like tags, and when you duplicate something, it doesn't duplicate the group, it duplicates all of the things within the group, and you just end up with double the things in the group, and that's frustrating. Yeah, I kind of bumped my head up against a wall a few times trying to get everything looking how I wanted it to look here for this stuff. But what are you going to do? Oh goodness, that is meant to be outdented. I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah, I ended up naming the bones and naming the empties so that stuff was easier to find in the outliner. If we go back here and look at the outliner, you can see that the empty is called a game I always wanted. The bone is called bone, a game I always wanted, with a numeric prefix. I added the numeric prefixes manually so that over here in the dope sheet, I wanted to sort them all by how early they were becoming visible, because that made tweaking and tuning the placement and animation a little bit easier. So we can see here that all of the quotes have the same animation. You know, I didn't feel like I needed to make them give them different timings or different animations. Just like the only thing that mattered was the start point of the animation, so that they all kind of felt like they came in at interesting times. If we scrub through slowly, you can see that they sort of pop in at different places and at different times, hopefully giving like an interesting organic feel as they arrive. But yeah, giving the stuff the name made that easier to wrangle, because like when these were not in the order that I wanted them to appear, there's like so much scrolling to do to be able to see everything at once. You can control the horizontal scale, but you can't control the vertical scale. Like there's no way to see this one and this one on the same screen at the same time without having a bigger monitor, I guess. Or at least I haven't found a way to zoom out vertically, which kind of makes sense given the kind of interface this is, but it's just not practical for dealing with the number of things I did here. And you can see here that like after I'd put them all in the order, I decided that I wanted to shuffle this one around to come in earlier, just to make sure that as we zoom out, if I calm it on down, there we go. We can see here as we come out, like I felt like there was a long period where nothing was visible, and this one here in the top right is the one that I popped in earlier. You can see it happens there. So between there and here previously, like there was nothing new, visible, and I was like, yeah, I want something else to sort of appear at that point. And I really like the way that it came out. Here, it doesn't feel like it's super dense, but then as we zoom out, the density gets, more and more big. Some of these ones here are appearing very late. Um, way after you've kind of no longer have this central area as the focal point, which gives it the sense of being filled in more and more detail. And I kind of feel like you don't realize it's a heart until you get to about here. At this point, it's just kind of a amorphous shape. Again, not having some of these ones popped in just yet allows the gap at the top of the heart to feel like it's something that's going to get filled in later. Like you carry that expectation further forwards than you would otherwise. And then when we get to here, we're actually so far out, and we kind of go, okay, yeah, we can see that's definitely a heart. That's cool. So yeah, lots of manual tweaking of the timing here to make everything feel like it was coming in at the right time. Um, when I imported everything, so when I do the import, um, oh, the heart was before I started, and I'll go back to my notes in a bit, after we kind of finish working through the structure of the thing. Um, and talk about that stuff. But yeah, when I import it, they all come in at the same size and they all come in with the same position. So these are all hand spread out. I loosely pushed them out to where I wanted them to be roughly. Tried to have, tried to not keep the big ones together. Tried to not keep the small ones together. Tried to have variation in quote length and size. And then once I'd had them spread out, then I just kind of picked a bunch at random and made them big, and so that there's this more in your face size variation where some of them stand out a little bit more than others. Obviously, I did consciously pick the ones that end up being bigger. But I felt like as we zoom out, it makes sense to have some of the ones on the sides and tops, like some bigger ones there, because when we zoom out to this point, the smaller ones end up being a bit harder to read. Yeah, I want to give some special attention to the music, and when you first zoom in, one of the first ones to come up is this "I like the music, holy crap," and at this scale, that one's quite big. It's bigger than this first text that we see, and then as we zoom out, we're getting more and more. Another one that I wanted to have here early on was Nuclear Monsters being excited about the angled scroll bar on the main menu. But yeah, so that is fun. There was lots of just shuffling around. I do have a reference, so I made a reference heart here shape to just move it all around, and there's lots of just little jiggling around to make things fit. One of the last changes I made was that these two were just down a little bit like this, and I could have left it like that and it would be fine. But after moving everything else around, I discovered that I had a little bit more space and shuffled them both up to give more clear spacing. There are some bits where so down here it's quite spaced out. Up here it's a little bit tighter. So it's not even spacing, but it's good enough. It's close enough. And same with adhering to the outline. Some things spill over a little, some things don't. Once you get rid of that reference line, it's fine. You don't notice it. You don't really care. I kind of wish that I had a couple of smaller quotes to stick in here, maybe in here, and definitely to fill in this little bit here. But I don't think it's bad. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I do have regrets. I wanted to have this out on Sunday in time for the game's second birthday, and I ended up shipping it on publishing it on Thursday, so it was late, and I didn't get to watch all of the stream archives that exist, and I was rushed when I was picking quotes from press media and stuff. I would have had a lot more quotes from articles in the heart here if I had thought about it a bit more, but by the time I realized, I was already in kind of overdue panic mode. I reckon I could have doubled the density of quotes in this, and I think it would have been stronger for it. Just because, like, the whole framing of this is meant to be, it's meant to be saying thank you to everyone who said something nice about the game, and the reality is that more than 80 people said something nice about the game. There's a couple hundred people that said something nice about the game, and it would have been for the sake of that message of saying thank you to everyone, it would have been nicer to have had more broad representation there. So I do feel a little bit sad. Some of that was me being rushed and not feeling like I had time to, and really not having time to watch, because I feel like there's probably another dozen hours worth of streams that I didn't have time to scrub through looking for quotes. And then you get to the end of the stream and you're like, because of the way they were talking to their audience, they said a lot of positive things, but none of it is structured in a way that I can pull it out and make it like have a sentence that is, a few words long, and have that be something that I can stick in here. So this is from a podcast here. Eric Roth said, he was in the middle of talking and he goes, I didn't know that this was what I needed right now. It was so nice, and I was so happy to just sit in this. And so, I can pull a little bit of that out, and that's fine. But in lots of streams, it's very difficult to pull out one concise thought. So if you think about that very long run-on sentence that I just said, which the thrust was essentially, it's hard to pick out stuff when people are streaming, it took me a full 2 minutes to say that. So that's kind of par for the course, right? Like, it's fairly normal for streams. I do have here. I do have here a screenshot that I took earlier on, back when everything was the same size, and this is like the first step of spread everything out so that there are no overlaps, and then work out how they can fit together into a heart. And you can see here that it's a mess, and it's very, like, when they're all like this, when they're all the same size and they're all like aligned horizontally with each other and stuff, it becomes so uniform that none of them stand out, and it feels very flat. But then when we when we end up like this, and we've got some different sizes, and they're not all like vertically aligned. These are all like offset from each other and stuff, and they're not horizontally aligned. Some are above and some are below and stuff. That does make it feel more textured. And so that allows some things to stand out. And like, while the larger text does stand out, the small stuff also stands out in its own way. Like, it's not all. You kind of go, this one here is smaller than the others, so it does kind of catch my eye in a little bit, and it says something nice. Hive Time is an obscure gem. That's kind of cool. But yeah, there were a few streams where it's like someone just says, "Oh, that's cute," or "Oh, this is precious," and I'm like, "Okay, well, that's the." Oh yeah, here's one. "Oh my god, that's cute." Lots of people said that, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. Yeah. So, like, I think that covers most of it. You can see here, if I scroll up, like, there's tons and tons of these quotes. There's all the auto-generated scenes that the script's created. So the scene list ends up being quite convoluted, which is a little bit frustrating. Oh yeah, another thing I did, which I hadn't done before. Here. Alright, there's our B. So this is at the end, after it's shown the end screen, and it does the hex wipe again, and you just see hivetime.toolofbees.com. There's a bee that flies over, and this is it. I wanted to have, because I faded out the music early, and in hindsight, I wish I had have moved the fade of the music out till a bit later, because initially I was cutting it a lot earlier and I extended the duration out, but then didn't extend the fade time out, so the music is completely gone at the end, and I didn't want it to be, but oh well, not worth fixing now. But yeah, because I had the music fade out, I knew that the music was fading out. I didn't realize it was entirely faded out by the time we got to this. But because I knew it was going to be quiet on the music front, I wanted to have like some bee sounds when the bee flies past. And this is the first time that I actually added a speaker to um to a thing. I'd never done this in Blender before, so I was like, well, rather than have to sit here and edit the sound so that it moves from left channel to right channel and fades in and fades out as necessary, maybe I'll just try putting a sound in 3D space and move it around with the bee, and we'll see how that looks. And that's exactly what happens, and I'll play it. And yeah, it does its thing, which is really cool. I had to fiddle around with the attenuation and stuff. When these are all on default settings, it was entirely audible when it was outside the camera viewport, whereas I wanted it to feel um, more like how it feels here. But yeah, I was really happy to have that in. I think it sort of ties up the end, makes the end a bit nicer. Um, like historically, in oh, okay, sure. Historically here, and that would say like new update now available because I'd done a trailer for each of the updates. The informational update, which added the Bpedia, was the first one. The what were the other updates? How many updates? I feel like I've done 3 updates. Have I done 3 updates or only 2? But yeah, there was the informational update and the Hiveversary update. Oh, I did an update. Like as far as my roadmap goes, it was divided into like update milestones. The first one was shipping the jam version of the game, which I didn't do a trailer for, so I guess that doesn't count. But yeah, I wasn't sure what I was going to put here. Initially, I had thanks for saying nice things about Hive Time or something like that. But then I realized that it made more sense to stick that in to the heart here and have that be like how we introduce the heart. We like start in here with the thanks to every bee. Oh yeah, and I was really happy to like stick a small and a big bee because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't focusing entirely on big name press stuff. I wanted to, like, it's the players and the smaller people as well. They matter heaps, and they definitely played a role in allowing the game to be seen and played as much as it has been. So yeah, I definitely need to make sure that was going on there. And this was fun because we're zooming out at the time. Like the question becomes, should these bees be anchored to like the world space? Should they get smaller as we zoom out, or should they be anchored to the camera space and stay like relative to the edge of the camera? Um, and I think these I mean, because they're 3D objects, they're in world space, and they do get smaller as we zoom out. I wanted them to feel like they were screen relative rather than world relative as we zoom out, because it's like at this point in time, it's not entirely clear that we're looking at like a larger scene. The zooming in and out and stuff. It just felt more natural when it was anchored to the camera, which means that the animation on these, if we jump into the dope sheet here, animation on these is kind of weird. So it's all happening here. This is the animation. Dog. Yeah, in addition to moving down, it has to move horizontally at the same time. You can see here that it's shifting horizontally. It took a long time to get that to align to look right. When you just see the grid here, it feels weird because they're the grid is a visual anchor that the text is attached to, but it feels like the bees are like curving inward as that happens. they cross the grid lines. But yeah, and then once we zoom out far enough for them to not be visible anymore, they just kind of drift off to the side so that they're not in the way. They're like, we'll get way out of there. How far out are we? Oh, we can't zoom out far enough to see them. There it is, way over there. And the other one is here, I guess. Oh, that one might be visible, actually. Let's zoom right out. Oh, I guess I must have made it go way over there. Yeah, okay. Alright, that's cool. Since this is an orthographic camera, it doesn't matter where it's positioned vertically, like it's always going to be able to see everything. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. That's how I worked things to try and make it easier for me to do the work. So like scripting the instantiation of stuff and like setting this up to use empties to allow me to shuffle stuff around really without a lot of hassle. So I've like part of the work that the script does is actually set the text meshes to not even be selectable. That way I can't grab them by accident. And that just makes it a lot easier to move them around, and you know, if I need to, you know, what to swap positions of these ones, then that becomes like heaps easier. Yeah, so that's what the innards of this look like. I will also show. Let me just grab the first rough that we have here. And that's it, right? Like that's what a first pass on trailer looks like. Oh yeah, still says Hiveversary update there. But the first thing that I do is kind of go, well, like what are the beats? What's the timing? How do things work? In my head, I knew that I wanted to have quotes coming across the screen at this point. So if we go back into the video editor and we what are we doing? There we go. So if I come back in here and I hide the... Oh, actually, unhide these. You can see that I've actually still got all of these still present. I don't think I have a track available that I can put them on. Jeez. Alright, there we go. Now I can grab this stuff and pull it up a bit, and I can put these below. Yeah, okay. So this is what I was working with originally. If I hide these. Oh, those crossfade strips are still there. So previously that was those were hard cuts. So if we hide those, we can see. And then I had for like, I was gonna show in addition to. It's quite loud. I think it's quite loud. Oh no, it's not so bad. It's just loud in my headphones. Hey, stop. Let's turn these off. So initially I was thinking, oh, well, I'll show like all of the management screens. I'll show population and research and defense and foraging. Defense and foraging having had some recent changes, it made sense to make sure that I showed those, and it didn't make sense to have a trailer that felt like it was general focus only on those. So I had all of them, and I was like, okay, well, while I'm here, I may as well show like, here's how the you know, production stuff works. Here's how the like resource levels and stuff works. You know, wanted to show a whole bunch of the different management things, and then I was also like, okay, well, maybe I can show some events, and maybe I could show some B customization. The strip isn't here anymore, Oh, hang on. This is the bees that I was talking about. Yeah. So if we, it was just this for a long time. Just bees flying around, and that felt like it was something that could have been interesting to have, you know, in the foreground or in the background. Sorry, as tech stuff was going on, but I decided that wasn't the way to go. That last bee with the buzzing sound, it's in every trailer. Every trailer has that bee. Yeah, always felt like we're going to show you the website and we're going to give you long enough to look at it and you know, absorb the information within. Something we can do to make that time feel more interesting and less wasted is just stick another bee on the end. Yeah, I like that just one last is real good. Yeah, so I had videos of foraging and defense and resource levels and production and bee activity and stuff, but in the end I ended up gobbling up the time that I had allocated to, you know, the other non-core management screens and gave that instead to the thanks heart, because like more time allows you to absorb more of what's going on. Like the first cut that I had of this had the thanks thing only took up like half the amount of time, like from about here onward. And I was like, yeah, that's too short, and it makes sense to do it at the point that the music changes as well, so that there's like an oral cue for stuff changing there. But yeah, so the first thing that I do whenever I'm starting a new trailer is hello. You're gonna show that? Why can't we see that? Okay. Did I? Am I just? Yeah, okay. I was too zoomed in at the wrong spot. Yeah. So I start up with like just static images, and then once I've got the structure of the trailer in place and I know what the timing is going to be like, then I go into OBS or whatever recording software I'm using, and then use the use that to capture stuff in the game. And let me bring up Godot here, and I'll show off a little bit about how that works. Because this is fun as well. Doop 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 doo. Hive Time takes a little bit to load. It's not the fastest. Okay, so I have here this file called debug stuff, and there's going to be a function called do sequenced events here, which I'm going to put back to trailer 6 for now. We have a function called trailer6, and every time this function is called, it will check what the current sequence index is and then do some stuff based on that. And I've got that bound to a button, so it means that every time I press a button, it'll do a thing. And that allows me to kind of behave as a director while the game is running. And so each time I press the button, it's going to load a save, move the camera to a particular position, set the zoom a particular way, yield a couple of frames so that things don't happen until we're ready, and then it's gonna change the build progress of a couple of cells so that we end up with some half-finished cells. And there was some other stuff that it wanted to do, but I included that in the save, so it doesn't need to do it. And then it plays a queen animation. And then same again, load a different save, move the camera to where it needs to be, play a queen animation, wait a certain amount of time, and then set a cell to be built, and then wait a certain amount of time, set another cell to be built, and that's the kind of stuff that this is doing. And so I'll run it, and we can watch it do its business. It's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. This is what I do for all the trailers. When I need to capture in-game footage, I'll set up that kind of stuff, and it's all set up for me to cue the different things to happen when I press a button. Like I said, that lets me act as a director, and also lets me do things. If I want to time things to music or I want to time things to voices, I can set that stuff going and do it manually, do it organically, rather than like try and work out the millisecond timings and potentially end up with things being too precise. Like I like to have some unexpected behavior. So yeah, let's go through the sequences. So we do the first one, which is this. Queen yawns, does the thing, they do some building, and then we do the next one. We load the next save. Camera zooms out a little bit. Queen does the wave animation. Bees fly over, do their construction. We've built a couple new cells in the meantime. Jump to the next one. Queen adjusts her crown. We've got some more construction going on. And then we do the last one. And now there's a whole lot of construction going on. There's a whole lot of different activity. Yeah, that's how the sequenced event stuffs work. And then the last sequence sets it back to 0, and then I can press it again to go back to the beginning. And so there's one of these hiding in the game for pretty much all the trailers. Think about the Hiveversary trailer, where it's got the rhyme that I wrote about it being Hive Time's first birthday, time to celebrate. We've made a big update. We think it's just great. There's hats and whatever galore. But wait, what's that? You say you were more. So like all of that stuff, I'd recorded the audio and then I knew what I needed to happen. I just played that audio back while the camera is panning across and just pressing the button to make things happen at the moments that I want them to happen. Yeah, I like doing things like that. It makes me feel like I'm a bit more of a director. Actually, sorry, the Hiveversary update, now that I think about trailer 5 here, has like, I press it once to set a lot of stuff up, and then I press it again to finish setting up some camera stuff and some audio stuff, and then I press it a third time to like set the camera moving, and like everything happens on its own with that one. But all the other trailers are like got separate bits that I queue independently. And so yeah, once that's done, after I you know, I have a thing, I have a recording that I can bring in here and chop it up. If we grab this, can I delete that? Make that real long. That's come here, come on. Oh, I didn't. I don't know why. That shouldn't be stopped there. That should actually let me come across. Is that I've done like, maybe I've done like a hard cut at something at some point, and oh, it's because of the strip proxy. Maybe it's I don't want to rebuild the strip proxies. It's fine. Anyway, you can trust me. All of these came off the one recording. Yeah, that's fine. Undo. There we go. All right. So that's back into the format that was meant to be. So the other thing I said I would do was look at my notes. Trailer 6 notes. That sounds good. You know what? Now that I think about it, I don't actually think I have the kind of notes that I thought I had. Let me open this on another monitor. Yeah, I mean, like, this is what my to-do list looked like. I had a couple of things I wanted to stick in the patch, a couple of things I didn't end up sticking in the patch. I did some calculations working out what my like average rating was on itch, so that I could communicate what the equivalent Steam ranking would have been if it was on Steam. I had made notes on quotes that I was fairly certain I wanted to keep in. This is me working out what the JSON needed to look like for importing later. Yeah, there's nothing, no notes. It was all in my head. But it says here, introduce gameplay with quick cut of Hive growth. So that was like the intro. It says cut on isolated sounds to set rhythm before music comes in. Yeah, so I was thinking of having a thing where like we do the same kind of thing as what happens here, but we go through a few cuts where it's like, you know, construction's happening with a rhythm to set the tempo before the music comes in, and like bees flying past, and so it'll be like and like just like getting all those things happening with the right cadence to set up the tempo for the music, so that it kind of like weaves into how it goes. I like would probably use that for a future update or a future trailer if I made one, but it didn't seem like it was necessary here, so I didn't end up doing it. Yeah, like thinking about what's the wording here. At one point, I was thinking about maybe doing a thing where I voiced it and said, on Hive Time's second birthday, I want to take some time to thank everybody. But I think like it's tricky. I want the emphasis to be on the quotes, and if I'm talking over the top of this, I think it takes some of that away. Oh, that was something else I didn't show. So initially, I had just like a flat color on the background, like this, and I just felt like it was too plain. If we end up with like this big space around here that's just blank. So I was like, okay, well I gotta make it look a bit nicer. Some hexagons in the background probably look good. If we go thanks BG, is this one? Oh no, hex. It's easy to get caught up. Each like screen has keeps track of the current scene separately. So if I switch to the default screen, it will switch back to the thanks scene because that's what we were last viewing. So when I'm in the video editor, I never want to change away from hex wipe because that's the one that has everything in it. But yeah, so what we have here is just a very large collection of hexagons. The mesh for it, if I zoom in up here, this is the mesh, this is the entire mesh here, and then I'm using a bunch of array modifiers to, hang on, let me bring that up here, several array modifiers to like set up the, set it out into a grid. So if I wanted to, if I want to make it thicker or smaller or something else, I can do that by just manipulating the geometry. It's all doing its thing in there. I did toy with having, did I keep them? No, I did have like a twist modifier that I was using I was like, what if I made it like a sphere? And so that, because I was concerned about the edges feeling a bit thin, a bit plain, sorry, so we get to here and I'm like, well, it's very uniform on the edge here. I was like, what if it looked like it was on a globe or something, or on a ball? But it didn't look that great, so I just left it as it was. But yeah, so that's how that one came out. I can also open up some of the other trailers. I mean, if I'm doing a stream and I'm talking about trailer stuff, we'll load up some other trailers and we'll have a look at how they're similar or how they're different. So we can see here immediately that this one's got fewer moving parts, fewer bits going on. I have a different layout as well. Like I didn't need to do any editing of like animations here because it's all like one video.
G'day, Jay. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, not bad yourself? Oh, I can't complain. I accidentally pulled an all-nighter playing Hive Time.
So that's all, yeah, that's all stuff. The voice audio is just this one, I think. So if I hide that and play, we get the music. Yeah, so the music is separate from the voice. And I played the voices back while while pressing the buttons to make the things happen with this one. I did have this. This one does have an animation on it where so the abominable bogan comes in the background swearing when they're talking about banning, and then I had like just a copy of the cursor in there that I moved up to the ban button, which is kind of fun. So this one's got less going on than the other ones. Yup. And yeah, because that trailer came out alongside the Hiveversary update, I had that in there as well. Let's open up one of the other ones. Trailer 4 is the Hiveversary update. That's this one, which is mostly one take, I think. So it looks like we switch over to something else here, so that's kind of fun.
It's Hive Time's first birthday. Time to celebrate. We've made a big update and we think it's just great. It has tweaks and improvements and fixes galore. But wait, what's that? You say you want more? Aside from new vignettes, there are new hats for one. New events, new music and ways to find your own fun. Some chat integration for streamers and friends too. There's something for every bee, both old
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
and new.
I wanted to put some.
Whether you play serious or just find it funny, get
Come
Hive Time
on.
today.
It's
Build a
stuck.
hive. Make some honey.
There we go. Yeah. So, I wanted to have the some menu stuff in there showing the new find your own fun options. But other than that, let's see. Is that yeah? You can see this is .001. This is .002. So it's like the same file. And I've just picked back up on the end of that. And yeah, same thing again. These things appearing is kind of timed to the music as well. Bee flies past. Oh, it doesn't do the second fly past. It does that one where it stops. And this is why I had the music for the other trailer fade out here rather than having that extra bit where the bee flies in. Let's have another look. Trailer 3 is... What is trailer 3? What are you, trailer 3? Oh, this one. Okay, yeah. This one was a lot more complicated. So we don't actually use much in the way of gameplay footage. This is like these little bits where Jeff is on the scene showing off his stuff. Those have videos on them, but the others are just these things here. So if I jump back across to default and we go to both hosts, here we go. We can see, I'll change to material. Hey, there we go. Sweet. So if we go back to the beginning, we'll see that I've actually set it up to do stuff, and it moves the backgrounds around, changes the images based on what's going on at the time. So this is like one scene that does its business, has everything in it. I have the audio here. So you can see that I've set up a driver somewhere. So I think that's this. Yeah. Can I? How do we look at this? RNA path property. I've only done this once, and I don't remember how it works. Must be over here. It's not constraint. It's not this. I don't know. But the up and down movement of the wings is driven by the audio. And and I don't know how or where I did that. I know nothing about it. It's the pose thing. Because like we've got this COAZ value. Maybe that's what that is. We've got a modifier here. It's a modifier name, but what is it? Is it, what is this smiley face? It's an armature thing? A mask? Procedure, okay, it's called mask, but it's a procedural operation or effect. So we pass something on into the vertex group. So the vertex group is oh yeah, it's a thing that the wings do here, so man, I don't know what's going on. One of these things, object data, relations, no. Somehow, somewhere, I set up a thing where it lets me just control this by the audio, and it's very clever, and I could look it up, but it's called a driver, and that's the main thing, I guess. But yeah, that sped up everything a whole lot. The rotation is something that I did manually, so I just like tried to pick bits where it felt like there was a need for some emphasis, and like spread the wings to communicate that, so we can and then also, you know, like pop the body up and down a little bit. I had some like common like head movements. I had like 2 or 3. So there's one where they're like doing that, and then the antennae kind of do that. There's another one where they like move their head back and forth a little bit. So they've got like slightly different movements on them. And this, I'd never done this kind of animation before. This is entirely new to me. Boop. And yeah, like all it takes is like just a couple of things. I can see things that I would do differently, that I would like to improve, like some of the antennae springing back in her boop. Yeah. Yeah, but it's like this was all scripted as well, so it's like I'm Phil and I'm Tracy, and tonight we're going to talk about, you know, it's like but first, Hive Time has been updated with like the informational update. And Jeff is on the scene. And then we skip across to Jeff, and like all the Jeff stuff does the same thing. If we zoom down far enough, Jeff, all of his stuff is in one thing, I think, as well. So if we, yeah, he's doing his thing. He's this flapping animation is looped. And I don't know if I did any extra animation on him, whether he just does that same. Yeah, he doesn't do anything except for Jeff Snodgrass, Lower Ranches. Yeah, I just really wanted to have him give this sense of like a weary field correspondent who's overworked, and so like the joke is that he does everything. He's reporting on everything live. Even though they're in entirely different places, they're doing entirely different things. Like that was a joke, and I thought it worked well. I enjoyed it. I don't know if anyone else got it, but it made me happy. And then yeah, we had Amy with the weather. Now here's Amy with the weather. Perfect day for building Hive. Or a perfect day for building hives. Good night. I'm really happy with how this one came out. It's really good. Um, yeah, but so to answer your question from before, Dragoy, the idea of having the quotes in a heart, it was like, I want to present an overwhelming amount of quotes, and the way to do that is to start zoomed in and zoom out. And the moment that I had that thought, I was like, okay, well, they got to be in some sort of shape when you zoom out, like because it's going to get to a point where you zoom so far out that you're not going to be able to read them all, or you're not going to feel like you're able to read them all. There's going to be too many to see at once, and they're going to be too small, so that it needs to be a shape. And the immediate thought was a heart, because if the framing of this is that I'm giving thanks for the nice things that people do, then, you know, it can't be anything but a heart. I did kind of think about doing a hexagon shape or something, or a B shape. One thing that I thought about doing that I didn't do was having Bs like this, for the quotes that fly across as banners, to have like a little bee in the corner that's meant to be the bee saying that quote, and maybe I would do it on a kazoo. But I don't think that was necessary. Like, I think that the trailer's kind of strong enough as it is. And the moment that I go, okay, well, if I'm going to have a bee on the banner saying the quote, then I should probably make each one look different because they're from different people. And then at that point I'm like, okay, well, then I need to go and work out what the people who made those quotes look like if they happen to have a photo somewhere, so that I can do a bee that vaguely looks like them. And like, that snowballs into a huge amount of work. And I kind of feel like if you don't do that, like if it's just the same bee every time, it feels half-assed, like it's much less interesting, and so you don't gain as much, or you don't gain anything really by doing that. So yeah, just like effort versus reward, I was like, I don't want to do it half. If I was going to do it, I'd do it full, and that's more work than I can stick in. Let's go have a look at some other trailers. So that was trailer 3. Trailer 2 is the Penelope trailer. Oh, there's trailer 3 too. Sorry, hang on. Helps if we go to the right folder. Trailer 2 is this one. And this is the Penelope trailer. So for anybody who doesn't remember it, let's check it out.
Bees, aren't they wonderful? This is Penelope. Penelope is a worker bee who works very hard to find and produce resources for the hive.
So it doesn't cache all of the strips.
It's very hard to find and produce resources for the hive. She's hard to find and produce resources for the hive. She's known for collecting as a worker bee who works very hard to find and produce resources for the hive.
I like the way that I somehow managed to like roll the R in hard, roll the A in hard. Yeah,
it's for the hive. She's known for collecting leftover wax and making crayons for baby grubs. The only problem is, bees don't live for it.
Alright, so this one had, like, all of the voice parts are separate bits here, we can see. So.
Aren't they wonderful? This is Penelope. Penelope is a worker bee who works very hard to find and produce resources for the hive.
Yeah, so breaking those up so that I can get the best takes. You know, getting the timing of that correct was a fun challenge. So like, not only do you need to what am I doing? Not only do you need to I was going to say some words. Yeah, like not only do you need to have.
So sad. Luckily for Penelope's hive, she has friends. Each bee may only.
So we got to get the timing of. We got to make sure that the music cuts out at the right second. We've got to make sure that it happens within the right period of time from when the voice line ends. We've got to make sure that the record scratch sound happens at just the right moment to feel funny.
Live very long.
And then the so sad's got to be like, the timing on that was very conscious as well.
So sad.
It's like, if you just hear it with outside of context, that delay doesn't feel meaningful. But the moment that we hear it here,
Bees don't live very long. So sad.
Like the timing is maybe a marginally longer gap might have been stronger, but it's pretty close. Feels pretty good. Yeah. So I used a if we zoom in here, you'll see that there's an extra strip. These meta strips, if I can't ungroup them because that will put them back in the position that they were in before they were grouped. But this is just the audio and the video grouped together. I sped this bit up because in the capture that I did, there was more time in there. I ended up cutting the trailer shorter, and I wanted to make sure that things aligned correctly. Not that anything moves. I was concerned about something moving, and that's why I sped it up. But yeah, I needed to have the friends come in, like just as the music recovers, and we say that she's got lots of friends. So if we play that.
Penelope's hive. She has friends. Each bee may only be around for a short while.
So yeah, we just sort of needed to make sure that that was doing what it needed to do. I didn't even remember what this was. Let's go find out. Okay, yeah, just the same thing, but with different bee movements. And then yeah, we switch between the various things, and then zoom out on the yeah. So after that, we cut in too close to the queen, and then we zoom out in a way that hopefully like fades into the like the hex wipe here. So it's like it feels like it's constantly moving out. Yeah. And then the very first trailer was this one. Oh wow. I think I've moved things around, and I guess these yeah, I guess these pictures don't exist anymore, or videos. Yeah, that's the relative path going up. But yeah, so this was meant to be timed. It was meant to be kind of like a sing-along thing, where it's like build a hive, gather lots of resources, grow that hive, make a new queen, or make new queens to keep laying. Was the thing, and I liked that. Like, this is where that first bee came from. So the final bee comes along with those last two notes. I don't know why that one's running quite as slow as it is, but yeah. So that's what led to that initial like final bee zipping across the screen, and that bee I've tried to keep in the trailers a little bit. Yeah, this one I have immense regret with this one. Like, 1,000,000,000%. I should have just put all the text on screen at once and had a bee bouncing along the text. Like, if the whole idea was meant to be that it was the joke was that it was like a sing-along thing, putting these words onto the music that describe how to play the game, I should have just had all the text visible at once and a little bee bounced along telling you what to sing. I think that would have been a lot easier to like read and experience, and B, like, much more clearly communicated that it was all meant to be in time to the music. Because I had to fudge some of the timing to make it work well. So like the word resources here comes in per syllable, but it's a long word. It's like you can see that the word, the final syllable barely has time to finish being full size before it's time to move on to the next scene, right? And yeah, it just could have been a lot better, and it wasn't. and I'm kind of sad about it. But learning. Um, but yeah, so we've looked at all of the Hive Time trailers here, and I think, or I hope, that um, they all feel decidedly different. Um, it was important to me to try and chase a different audience with every trailer. Um, the main exception is probably the Hiveversary trailer, which is trailer 4, I think. Yeah, which I think has a lot in common with that first sing-along trailer, in that, like, with the way that the music works, and it's got a rhythm and it's got a rhyme and stuff. These aren't lyrics that are sung to the music, but the cadence of the talking is a little bit to the music, and it's got the rhyming thing going on. So it kind of has that link, and then it's very similar to the Penelope trailer in terms of the voice delivery that I gave, and stuff. So this feels like a little bit like it's treading ground that I'd already trodden, but the others are all trying to specifically be something different. And while I don't, excuse me, at this point I'm not expecting to. At this point I'm not expecting to have the opportunity to do these. I may as well talk about some of the ideas I had for other trailers. So this was the post-release roadmap of things that I had wanted to do if Hive Time sold really well and everything was amazing, and or at least if my life had been stable enough to let me do this stuff. But yeah, so I did the jam builds that we mentioned before. We did the informational update, which had that trailer presented as a news broadcast. We did the Hiveversary update, which has the sort of birthday rhyme going on. Then we're going to have the monumental update, and I wanted the monumental update to have like the kind of qualities that you find in a trailer for an old-timey epic movie. So thinking like the sort of treatment that Ben-Hur or Lawrence of Arabia got, I think, like that combined with or like, yeah, like a little bit of 2001 sort of stuff, which you see like coming into a lot of trailers for, like, was it like Apple did a thing once, I think, where they were like trying to make the iPhone look like a monolith. Like, because the monumental update was going to be about bringing the monuments into the game. It made sense to like do a trailer that was like, giving a lot of cinematic weight to the like and visual presence to the monuments, and like structuring that as like these are these like massive, gargantuan, beyond human scale things that are like incomprehensibly big and incomprehensibly important. Is sort of the thing that I wanted to cinematically convey with the trailer for that. The goal update was meant to be about setting, like, mechanizing user-driven goals, and so that would be about like there'd be a whole bunch of UI for setting custom goals and stuff, and there'd be some scenarios and things for people who have no imagination. But the primary focus of it would be about the whole like new UI for tracking objectives and setting your own objectives. And I wanted the trailer for that to feel like, like those motivational sports gear ads. It's all like very focused on personal empowerment, and you're giving a message that you can do the thing, and like in the sports ad, it's like if you own the shoes, you can do the thing. Whereas in this, it's like if you set the goals, you can do the thing. And so yeah, that's the other major trailer that I had done. I've also had like the informational update trailer, the one that looks like a news broadcast, was really, really successful in terms of the response that it got. Actually, you know what? All of the trailers, with the exception of the very first sing along one, I think all of the trailers have been pretty successful, and all of the trailers have gotten pretty good feedback. Um, the Penelope trailer kind of feels like it loses its way a little bit when we start showing screenshots of events. And it sucks because the events are just not visually dynamic and visually interesting, so there's not much I can do there anyway. But I feel like it kind of loses its pacing at that point. And I also talked yesterday about how there was someone that I had wanted to send a Hive Time key to, who I thought would be a very good fit. I thought the game would be a very good fit for them, and they like started the trailer and it was like, this is Penelope, and they're like, jump to the middle and it's like, Penelope has friends, and they're like, no, not for me. And so I think each of the trailers, you can look at them and you can go, okay, well, for certain audiences, this trailer does not do a good job of pitching or representing the game. But I think in general that's fine. As I said before, I wanted each trailer to feel like it was targeting a different audience. And so the Penelope trailer was all about this kind of almost fake documentary style presentation, and presenting the sort of idea that bees have personality, as kind of the core conceit of that, the way that we introduce that trailer. That works for a particular audience. The informational update barely shows anything of the game, but the idea is that it presents how it presents the bees as they're depicted in vignettes, and stuff. And there's a certain audience that's was over the moon. Like, yeah, I have lots of people who tell me that the informational update trailer is brilliant, and that it does a really good really good job of showcasing what's new in the game, while still keeping it interesting. A lot of people liked the Hiveversary update with the rhyme going on. Like, people thought the rhyme was really clever, and that the panning across the hive gave this really kind of good, and it pans slowly so you have time to absorb a lot of visually what's going on. So it does a good job of presenting that big and complex hives can exist. It's not just about the hive plus the half dozen cells or so that you start with at the beginning. And then I don't think the chat trailer got as much response as I was expecting. I was expecting it to be, but it's long. It's way longer than it needs to be, and it's very one note. It has, the joke is that the bees are talking. Oh no, it's got two jokes, right? One is that the bees are talking, and they're Australian, and they're overtly over Australian. It's a caricature and over the top. And then the second joke is that one of the bees in the background is called Abominable Bogan and is swearing and gets banned, and that's kind of funny. But yeah, it's. I think it's longer than it needs to be. I think if I could it's tough though, because you trying to tell people that it's a new thing that they should care about, and if you tell them that in 10 seconds, that's probably not going to stick in their mind. It did need to be as long as it was, I think, because I think it came in at about 30 seconds or something. It's quite long, for what it is. But I also wanted to use that to have the bees specifically talking about stuff that was new in the update, and how chat integration works. So I needed that space to be able to talk about that stuff. But that one didn't do as well as the others, I don't think. And then yeah, the response to this one with the quotes in it, people seem to really like it. So I'm very thankful. I'm glad that it has a different presentation for a hive, because the Penelope trailer and the Hiveversary trailer both have this whole pan across a hive thing going on, and that's cool, but it doesn't show you a hive getting built, which is what the what I really like about, or one of the things I really like about this most recent trailer, the thank you trailer, is that it does kind of use fast cuts to show the hive getting bigger. Like I think it's readable as being the same hive. So if we open it up and we have another look at that, I think we can. Yeah, I think it's readable as being the same thing. Like the way that we zoom out, it's not super consistent, but like here, the way that it zooms out allows you to like track the bits that are the same as they move. Like I think that, yeah, it gets lost on the last transition a bit because we zoom out a whole bunch. Oh no, I mean it's still there. Like if you're watching the wax assembler, the wax assembler is definitely maintaining like integrity of its position. So yeah, it's identifiable as being one hive that's growing across time, and the cuts tell you that time has passed, so they tell you that, you know, a whole bunch of stuff is going on. And then up here we're like getting close to doing jelly production, which is cool. In fact, I think if you extend that longer, I think this is jelly production down here. Maybe. I don't remember. And yeah, showing off the locks was important because that's something that a lot of people seem to like. People appreciate the locks when they're there. They talk about wanting locks when they're not there. But when they unlock one, they're like, "Oh, I don't understand how I unlocked the thing." So, yeah, showing how the locks work and reminding players that that's there. There's actually like text here that tells you how they're unlocked, and that has an icon on it now, which makes like visually it's much more noticeable than it was before for players who don't read that stuff. Research doesn't have anything interesting, but foraging has the new stuff and defense has the new stuff, so I definitely wanted to make sure that I showed those as well. But yeah, I'm like, population management is the sort of first core management system. Research is something that you're very likely to engage with. Foraging you're probably more likely to engage with than defense. So kind of they're ordered by priority, but again they're all optional, so whatever. Yeah, I'm pretty happy, pretty proud of pretty proud of the work I did on the trailers. You know, I hadn't done a lot of trailer work before this, so I think I'd done 3 trailers before I started Hive Time. Maybe. Oh my goodness. And I think like the amount of polish behind them and the amount of conscious and deliberate structure and the solidity of the pacing, like I said, the chat trailer is definitely a low point, but I feel like there is a progression across all of them that's visible to an extent, or it's visible to me, and I feel like I've grown a lot of skills as I've done this stuff. So the previous trailers that I'd done, since I'm like totally filling time now, I made a playlist on YouTube of my trailers that I've made, and the first one that I did that was like an actual trailer as opposed to me introducing one of my games was this one. Trying to get things to happen in time with the music has always been a thing that I wanted to do. I really like this game. I think this trailer is okay. It's kind of slow though, like I don't... But by the same token, I was intentionally making something... Like the game is slow. I don't want people to go, oh, this is an exciting action-filled trailer. I can play this exciting action-filled game. Like, if someone's put off by how slow the trailer is, they're probably not going to enjoy the game, right? Music in this is so good. So yeah, that was that's the first actual trailer that I ever did, and then I did the release date trailer for Lost Exodus, which is like a little bit more tighter, a little bit more aggressive in its pacing. It starts off slow, because again, like, the game's slow, and I want to make sure that people are patient. But yeah, this sort of pacing of the intro is like, once we've set the premise, then we can be a bit more aggressive. So we don't show a lot of this moving around stuff. I guess we do. Wow, this is a lot longer than I remembered it being. Yeah, I wanted that keep your crew alive, to like have someone dying on each of those beats. And yeah, this one's I don't dislike this. I think it's pretty good for the most part. That cut on the end of the music's a bit rough. Yeah, so like, yeah, I like that one. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's my best work. But I think I had grown and improved a little bit from the preceding one, you know. And then there's Bad Egg as well, which is a relatively recent trailer.
Once upon a time, up in the trees, a bat egg lived in a large, round, comfy nest. The last of its kind, it dreamed of a family. Until one day...
Have you not seen this? Ba, 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 ba,
Bat egg.
Hatching soon. No, stop. Where have you seen these? Yeah, so the bumper stuff I wanted to keep consistent. So I like this idea of, this is the splash screen, this is where we present the game title, the platforms where you can get it, and some relevant information, like relevant to this specific trailer, and then, you know, the website. I wanted to keep that consistent across all of them, but I also wanted to have like the opening bumper as well. Goodness, YouTube, come on. Where we've got the bee, and the bee does like a little wiggle, and then zips off to start the hex wipe. Oh, you think the Bad Egg one's really good? Yeah, Bad Egg one's okay. It's like, I can't do the kind of stuff that I did with this one on Hive Time, because Hive Time doesn't have the same kind of visually dynamic stuff going on. So like here I can have the text slide in interesting ways, and I can have the transitions keep the Bad Egg like in the same pose as much as possible, and make it feel like the Bad Egg is persistent across the scene transitions. There's just like, there's not enough going on in Hive Time to allow me to do that same kind of stuff. Yeah, I think yeah, this is a pretty good trailer. It's pretty good.
Bat egg. Hatching soon.
There is some like visible banding on the grass textures and the leaf textures at the beginning.
Once upon a time.
It's like here, which
up in the
not so great.
trees. A bad.
Oh, and you can see this particular, like, on all of the middle obstacles I've fixed it, but on some of these bottom obstacles you can see a seam where the shading doesn't align properly for the leaves there on the bushes.
In a large, round, comfy nest. The last of its kind, it dreamed of a family. Until one day...
Yomp. It's all sad, like, all of it is sad. Everything that we're looking at is enormously depressing to me. But yeah, like I said, I'm proud of the work that I did. I had done videos before this, and all the videos I did before this, were this kind of stuff.
Hi, my name's Cheese, and today I'm going to tell you about version 1.1 of Flat, an experimental first-person sci-fi ice skating combat game made with Allegro 5 and released under the GPL.
Where I'm like introducing. I think this might be the first one that I ever did was Flat. So if we want to go all the way back to the beginning of my video, well, this isn't the beginning.
My name's Cheese, and I'm going to show you how to play Flat, a game we developed for the 7-day FPS challenge in June 2012. To simulate ice skating, players must alternate between A and D to gain forward momentum. Holding
Oh, the
W
music's
at
out of sync.
same time
Oh, the audio's out of sync.
forward and lets the player go faster.
What? Has that always been the case?
Players can also skate backwards whilst holding S. If players have some momentum, they can also carve left or right by holding A or D. This can be helpful for avoiding obstacles or enemy fire. The first thing that players will find when starting the game is a supply capsule containing health. The first thing that players will find when starting the game is a supply.
Wow, I didn't know that the audio was so far out on this. I guess I haven't watched it for a long time. But yeah, this is like of this era of my career. This was the first video I'd done. I had done some like animations and stop motion short films, if I wanted to make it sound fancy. You know, many years ago. But none of that was really game focused. But yeah, I'm really happy with how I done. So the thing that I was in the middle of saying and then completely forgot to say was that yeah, when the informational update trailer was so well received, with Phil and Tracy here. I had considered doing a series of shorts just with bees doing stuff, which could have been fun, you know. Either more news reports with the same news anchors could be fun, other stuff of other bees doing other things, because like the vignettes are just like there's so much stuff in there, right? Like there's so many little stories. It could be fun to bring some of those to life, and do stuff with it. You know, like show a bee dressing up as a wasp, or 3 stink bugs in a trench coat, or whatever. Yeah, I could see myself doing those if the game had generated enough revenue for me to be able to spend all of my time on making side content for Hive Time. It's tricky. You know, like if it comes back to a point where I end up needing to do another trailer, you know, I've got kind of that roadmap for big releases. But if I have to do a small thing, that's outside of this, you know, like I will probably do some kind of small patch for World Bee Day. At the moment, I'm thinking I'll just like write a couple of vignettes and maybe put another couple of bee facts in. If I do that, you know, it probably won't warrant a another trailer. But if I do something that does warrant another trailer, then I can come back to this idea of shorts and kind of pull those out as I won't say they're low effort because it does take a bit of work, but as things that I can do that I already have an idea for, that's not going to take away from the the ideas that I have for these last two big updates. If I mean, I'm at the moment I've kind of given up. I don't think that they're going to happen. Uh, so yeah, I don't think it makes sense for me to expect that stuff will happen. But it's nice to leave those ideas in reserve just in case. Yeah. Anyway. So that's trailer stuff. Does anybody have any questions? We've gone through. We've looked at how making all the text stuff for this most recent trailer worked. Yeah, solid. Why can we not see this? Oh, I'm in video editing. That's why we cannot see this. I did that before, and I was like, why is it not doing the thing? There we go. Okay, yeah. So I went through the process, and I showed all this stuff. It always frustrates me because when I see the text like this, that was one thing that I was thinking of doing, was making it so that we're down here looking at the looking at this stuff, and we're zooming out and we're zooming out and we're zooming out and seeing the thing. I kind of wanted to make it so that we would end up like at an angle, and we would have some 3D-ness visible maybe, but it just didn't really work. But it is kind of fun to see this stuff at an angle with some perspective. Yeah, very very happy to answer questions. Feel free to throw questions my way. Like I'm definitely not an expert. As I said, I've made a half dozen trailers, and I feel like I've been improving. That's the limit of my accomplishment. Is there a tool I use for audio? Yeah, I used Audacity. If I start Audacity, then OBS will lose its connection to my sound card. I tried to show off working on the sounds for Cloud Courier at one point, and then streamed like 20 minutes of no audio because it had dropped out. But yeah, I use Audacity. If I continue to use Audacity in the future, I will be using a fork, like a historic fork, rather than anything published by MuseScore. I think that's kind of gross what they've been up to. So yeah. In terms of things that I do with Audacity, mostly well, you know what? We'll see if we can start it. And if it breaks the audio, then I will say right now goodbye, thank you for watching. And if it doesn't, then we'll give a look at something. Hey, there we go. Okay, we're back. But I think Audacity will probably not be able to play anything. Let's try opening something. Did that break it? Nope. Oh no. Okay. Oh, here's some bees. These are like the raw recordings of bees. I'm echoing? Really? Oh, I see. There's those bees. Yeah, so what was happening was that the desktop audio capture had like defaulted back to the microphone rather than the monitor of the desktop audio. Yeah. But that's one of the raw recordings that I did at one of the honey farms that I went to, which is kind of fun. I was hoping to find for one of the trailers, some of the music that I'd done, but it seems like I only kept projects for the audio. Wait, what? Oh, Roscoe 2, okay. Trailer 2. Yeah. Don't know. Anyway, let's just grab one of the music files. Hang on. We'll grab the Morning Buzz, I think was what I used. Yeah. Yeah. So I've pulled out this bit where it's just the piano and the xylophone. That's not in there at all. Just basically ripped out everything from here to here, I think. And I love the build, like I think the build up across this piece is really cool. But for the pacing of the trailer, it made sense to just pull that out. Yeah, so I jumped straight to here, sorry. And so yeah, what I'll do when I do this kind of stuff is I will grab everything from here back, stick it in a new layer. I will just like cut this off so that I can work with it, and then I'll zoom in. Nope. Okay, sure, whatever. I'll zoom in and alright, so we wanted to rip everything back to here, right? Alright. So yeah, we'll zoom in and I'll make sure that I don't grab anything past there. Looks good. And we'll just rip that off. My scroll wheel's not working, so this kind of stuff is very slow. Ah, what am I doing? Just get rid of everything. Okay. And then we can grab this, we can slide it across. Normally I would leave the original track in place because like working out the actual like timing of stuff ends up being important for that. So what do we want? Yeah, so something like that. And like that's enough for something rough. Yeah, that's good. So I would increase the volume of this. Probably not that much, a little bit less. But the idea being that we don't want such a jarring transition from the quiet bit to the loud bit, right? And you could also, start that a bit quieter and ramp that up to whatever it needs to be. Then we did the same back here. So back over here somewhere. We're going to just grab this from about here. And we'll just stick that up here so that it's in a separate layer and we can shuffle it around. Okay, so we wanted... Hang on, let's have another listen here. Okay, so we don't want anything past here. And we want to bring this back to start about there. Let's just make that a little bit quieter. Where is it though? I've got it wrong. Alright, yeah, so that's... Okay, so this bit here, we want to be like just in line there. There we go. So we've pulled down something that was, let's just open that again. That was 3 minutes 15 into something that is 1 minute 38. Okay, well there's I think I must have chopped this up a little bit more. Oh, actually, yeah, no, sorry, we just faded this out, right? Like because it all came in under a minute. So something like that. But yeah, that's how I go about absolutely demolishing Peter's wonderful work, and trimming it down to work well for Hive Time. So yeah, does that answer the audio question? When I do recording, I'll do like for voices. I guess I'll since we've got audio stuff open, I'll show that as well. So trailer 3 maybe. Okay, so we got rough script 2.
I'm Phil. And I'm Tracy. Tonight on Hive News Network, Old Bitey strikes again, Queen Alice III's midlife birthday, and ongoing upgrades at East Branch. But first, indie game Hive Time's informational update launches today, featuring a new Bpedia, as well as many other improvements and fixes.
Improvements.
Old Bitey has dropped by the Hive again. Jeff is on the scene. Thank you, Phil. For younger bees, Old Bitey is a scary bedtime story. Today, that nightmare became a reality for 40 unsuspecting builders. Jeff Snodgrass, Lower Branches. Thank you, Jeff. Next, we cross live to Jeff at the royal birthday celebration. Thank you, Tracy. Queen Alice III marks the middle of her reign today with a traditional midlife crisis gala. A fancy fireworks display rings in an evening of pollen puffs and nectar cocktails. Jeff Snodgrass, Throne District. East Trunk has become a hub for development activity lately. Here's Jeff with more. Thank you, Phil. Construction begins today on the East Trunk Jelly Refinery upgrade, part of an ongoing initiative to increase productivity in this area of the Hive. Jeff Snodgrass, East Trunk. Classic Jeff. Another Amy with the weather. Chance of an overnight shower may bring temperature down to low teens, but clear skies should bring a bright and sunny morning, a perfect day for building hives. Back to you, Phil and Tracy. Thanks, Amy. And that's all for this evening. Good night. Good night.
So yeah, that's it made sense to me to write a script, work out what the performance was going to be, and then do the kazoos. And so I'll do a rough script like this, and this was the script that I did most of the pacing of the trailer, like set up some of the set up the scenes and made sure that everything was working, made sure that the delivery was fast enough, that the trailer wasn't too long, because like how long does that end up coming out to if we look here? 1:15, so we've it does get trimmed down a little bit. I think I trimmed some of Jeff's stuff here to make that a little bit shorter, and sped up my delivery a little bit in the performance, just to tighten that up a little bit. But yeah, I find that having a rough script, like a first pass on that, to get the timing down first, means that I have something that I haven't spent a lot of effort on, that's in place and ready to go, and I can do that, and I can learn lessons from that, and then when it comes time to do the actual recordings, I have a much more solid idea of what the timings need to be, and how everything needs to be structured. So yeah, that's the other thing that I use Audacity for, is kind of just getting the rough audio in, and then I'll record it on my setup here, usually with this connected to something. Excuse me. Here's the kazoos. Kazoos, multiple. I'm blown in the wrong end. Yeah, so I bought some kazoos and we do all that sort of stuff. But yeah, when I do my delivery, it's basically I stand up, I put some cushions in front of my monitors so that sound doesn't bounce off them. I set my blinds so that they're angled in a way that means the sound is less likely to be reflected back, and just give my delivery. Well, you can't see because I'm standing up. But yeah, I give my delivery right here at the desk. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I got for today. If there are any other questions, I will happily answer them. If not, I will wrap up here. This has been a fun 2.5 hours of trailer talk. I've been Cheese. This has been Trailer Talk, the first episode of Trailer Talk, the last episode of Trailer Talk. Thank you for joining me. I hope it's been fun, and I will stream some Bone Sweeper work at some point soon. So yeah, thanks again to everybody who appreciated the. Well, thanks to everybody who said something nice about Hive Time that I could include here, and thanks also to everybody who said something nice about the trailer itself. I was not, fishing for compliments, as it were, when I invited people to, when I put this together. I wanted to celebrate people saying thank you. I didn't want people to say thank you for being celebrated, right? But it has had quite a positive response, and I'm thankful for that as well. Um, but yeah, that's all. I will be back another time. In the meantime, let's just enjoy the dulcet sounds of this trailer.